Good evening, everyone. Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats. We'll bring page turners your way. Sorry I didn't title this, but I will title it later. We have uh, author Kimberly Beasley and also Catherine Smith, her sister, as well as Kelly. Hey, Ro, how you doing? Our topic, colorism and racism and colorism. So I am going to bring them up right away. I'm going to send that out. Um, Hopefully, we all, if it let it all three be on here. Good to see you, Ro. This will be my first time doing more than one. Ah! Let's see. Can Kelly get on, or you two in the same house?
We're different homes.
Okay. Oh, so I'm able to get one more. I never did four.
Oh,
Poor dog.
I'm
Poor
trying to.
dog.
I'm trying to
Kelly,
put.
come out, wherever you are. Oh, that's Caitlin. See, oh, look, I don't know who's who. Okay, I am just going to get started. Thank you guys for being here. Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents an ESP Book Chat. Tonight, our topic, we're going to talk about colorism and racism. I have three beautiful ladies here who are siblings. Close your eyes, open them back up, then maybe you can see them as different people, but you all look alike to me. And Kimberly, depending on which way you're looking on your camera, she is at the left bottom. So Kimberly, you brought us here, your book, Searching for
Yes.
Me. And thank you for your siblings coming. I'm so glad that this is working for us. Like we can see each other and everything's all good right now. So Kelly, tell them about your book, the backdrop of what's happening, and then introduce your sisters before we get started, because there's some questions I'm going to ask the siblings. And thank you so much for coming. And this is going to be very engaging. I hope that um, the questions that I ask is okay, and I know that they are appropriate. I just say that up front for the listeners. But I'm just hoping that they can be answered. And I did it more of an impromptu because I want to have your true reactions of the questions. Go ahead, Kimberly, and then introduce your sister, and we'll get into this.
This is my book, Searching for Me, and I just wrote it. It's just a book of self-discovery, just trying to figure out who I am in a world of mixed lineage. And I wanted to inspire other people who have, identity kind of like me. It's inspiration for other people. Just, just to understand who I am. And I want to introduce my sisters. My oldest sister, I'm not sure how you see them. My oldest sister with the short hair, you raise your hand. That's Kathleen. And my baby sister, Kelly, is the other end. So it's Kimberly, Kathleen, and Kelly. So,
I'm still here. Something happened,
okay.
phone call, but I'm here. Yes. And so thank you for this, and thank you guys again for coming on. Uh, Again, we're going to go pretty deep. We wanted to break the story. Anybody that has a story with me, my popular show, I said a story with me, but my popular show is the 3-day show, because we can't deep dive into shallow waters. We have to really dig deep into these stories, and that's not only you guys' story, but others as well. I've always wanted. I told Kimberly when she was here by herself that I always wondered how someone of mixed race, how do they feel? It's enough with us having black skin that we have problems, but how does it feel when you combine lineage, especially if it's white and black? Because to me, and I'm sure others may say or may not say it, is society only cares about black and white. If you're Mexican and white, they're not really looking at that. But when you say black and white, it seems like that brings trouble. So I want to ask you guys, and you answer individually, and I have asked Kimberly before. And what was it like as a child? And Kimberly, you can start now that you have all of you on there. What was it like, trying to identify when you was, I hate to say it this way, but raised Black? People always want to know, are you going to raise the child white or Black? But with your skin colors, and then you're saying you're Black, and then we're looking at, okay, so what was it like, Kimberly, and then we'll go to Kelly, and then to Caitlin. So go ahead, Kimberly. What was it like for you?
Well, we're always identified as Black. I mean, my father on his birth certificate was Black. My mother on her birth certificate was Black. So we were identified as Black, even though our skin color didn't show that. So growing up, it was like a tug of war, and just kind of confusion, um, in the world that you're in this box that you have to identify as one way, but you look a certain way, a different way. So it was a world of confusion to us growing up, trying to explain it to people, and not really having to understand ourselves and trying to explain it to other people as a child. So it was a we lived in a world of confusion, and only our sisters, us looking alike, only we can understand it ourselves, and so it was kind of difficult. So
Hmm.
that's my opinion.
Okay, with you, Kelly.
For me, I think, being the youngest, my sisters paved the way for me. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that our parents had to choose which race they were going to raise us. We were Black, our complexion was lighter, but our mother and father raised us for what we were. They were Black, so they raised us as Black kids. We were. And our race was not just our color of our skin, it was our culture. That's what we were raised around, I mean, our culture was a Black community. Our village were Black people. So our ancestors are Black, and it really goes deeper, for me. And that's what got me into, genealogy, which Kim speaks on a lot in her book, is all of our heritage. If you really want to dig deep, is there some, Scottish Irish there? Absolutely. That's the complexion of our skin. But we weren't raised, with that culture, you know um and if you look even deeper than that, we have grandparents, of different generations, that were Native American as well, but when you look at the root of it, my driver's license and my ID says that I'm a Black woman, and my mothers and my fathers and my sisters and my aunts and my grandparents, and really, if you look at our full tree, there's a lot of shades there. But culturally, my parents never denied us from our ethnicity and our nationality, which were to be raised and as we were Black women and still are.
Uh-oh. Okay, you broke up, but you're still
Yeah.
there. Could you say the last thing you said, Kelly?
The last thing I said is that, just to, finalize that, our parents raised us for what we were, and how, we represent ourselves every day as Black women.
Thank you.
And the fight, I had to piggyback off of that. The fight wasn't us. The fight was the outside world trying to
Mm.
trying
Mm-hmm.
to being questioned, and you tell them that, oh, yeah, I'm Black, and they question you about that, and you always have to prove yourself. You always have to explain yourself. So the fight wasn't with us; it was the outside world.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Your turn, Kathleen.
Yeah, I agree with what both my sisters said. And it was, it was their issue more so than our issues, because we were raised to be strong Black women, and raised to be proud of our lineage and the hard work that our ancestors did to pave the way for us to be able to, be educated and live a good life, and those things. And I think those people on the outside around us, folks always want to put people in a box. You fit in this square, and you fit in this square, and you fit in this square. And we just weren't raised that way. Our mom was raised in Montgomery, Alabama, and saw a lot of things during that time period and experienced things. And so she taught us early on the value, to appreciate people by how their heart. Look at people's heart, not necessarily what's on the outside. And that's something I've always done, because we were taught not to judge people. That was God's place to judge, not ours, and to treat people the way we wanted to be treated. And that's something. That's just the golden rule I've always lived by, to treat people the way I want to be treated, even though it has not been a reciprocal process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of Kathleen, with our mother being raised, born in Texas and raised, in Louisiana and Alabama with her parents, her father, our grandfather, was a civil rights attorney, so and then not only that, he was the first African American to graduate from the University of Tennessee's law department, so those are proud things to look at when you look at your ancestors and them paving the way and fighting, for the next generation, our kids and our grandkids to come along.
Awesome. We're going a little bit deeper, but before we go a little bit deeper, we're going to resetting. We have three wonderful, awesome, beautiful girls, and as they said, they were born in a family where they knew they were Black. And so uh, we have Kimberly at the bottom, depending on how you're looking at the camera. Yeah, raise the hand. We have Kimberly, and then at the top, Kelly, and then we have Kathleen. So this is going to go for all three of you guys, and I made sure that I stick to what I want to say, because I can talk, but I wanted to know this. This is one of them, just kind of ahead of myself, but just, even though your parents say that you guys are Black, what did it feel like in that skin, Black skin, as we say, but even though it doesn't look like that exterior type of Black, as Kimberly said, when you walk outside and you're saying, I'm a Black woman, and the society see your skin as you're betraying what you're saying. So what was that like? And I'm going to start this time with Caitlin.
I was the first, of course, and I remember being questioned, and I'm the only one that has the more prominent freckles. I have freckles all on my face too, and I remember as a child, like I think I mentioned to you before, of trying to scrub them off, because I didn't look like everybody else, and I can remember crying, or asking my mama, can I just go sit out in the sun and turn browner, um, because I wanted to look more like her. My mama had beautiful skin, and I wanted to look like my mama. Um, and I can remember, us being out at times and folks asking her, whose kids are you keeping? Because they didn't believe that we belonged to her, because of just the difference in our complexions. So it was, for me as a child, it was very, very confusing, because growing up in a rural small town where, the town was literally divided by the railroad tracks, and there was that old mindset still of, people being in their places kind of thing, that carryover. Um, I was never, I can only recall maybe a few instances where I was treated badly because people respected our family. And I think that was probably a large part of why we were treated the way we were treated, is because there was respect for my grandfather and our parents, because of how they carried themselves in the community.
Kimberly.
Oh, well, because the community knew who my family was, the the Black community treated us, some of them most of them treated us pretty well. But then I can remember one instance I was riding my bicycle, and I forget how old I was, but I was maybe in the, I guess, wouldn't I don't know, but I remember riding my bicycle, and one white young man, well, he was a young guy, And he just yelled, I was minding my own business. He just yelled. He says, "You're nothing but just the N word." He just yelled at me. And I think that instance just triggered me as to, wow, you know, um, it just struck me as to, no matter it is, um, it just struck me, um, how they just they view me,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that hurt. Um, so it that that just still scars me right now.
Mm. Kelly?
I I'm a little different from them. I think they did pave the way for me, but I knew how to stand my ground. It didn't bother me. I knew who I was. I know who I am, and I still stand on that. So my friends, all of my friends were very, very supportive, and I didn't have to really deal with that. Again, I knew from my mother, and honestly, just to kind of give you an example, our mother was more your complexion,
Mm-hmm.
and
Hmm.
a beautiful Black woman. And again, she raised us to hold our head up high and to walk, with dignity. And that's, I don't feel like I dealt with that. Let me say this: I didn't allow it to
Okay.
deal with me that way. I knew who I was. I know whose I was, and I stand by that today. I didn't let anybody define me.
Were you or Kelly? Were you, or because Kimberly said she was called the N word? Were any of you two called the N word?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And and I do remember one instance, and this is probably the most vivid one that stands out to me, because I remember where I was. I remember I was in ninth grade, and I had some of my Black friends that came over to me, because I was friends with everybody. I was friends with white people, Asian people, whoever it was. I was like, hey, you want to be my friend? I just wanted to kick it with people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember them coming to me and saying that you need to choose whose friend you're going to be. And I remember that hurt me. That really hurt me. But now, looking back at that, I can say they didn't know better. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't know better. That was something, they were kids, and that was something they may have heard. They may have heard their parents, saying. That was just, I don't hold that against them at all. We're still friends today. I'm friends with all of them. I love them very much. And I think we came from a very supportive community, and you would have to know our community and where we're from to know that, if I needed somebody, they got my back. They're going to be there, and likewise, it's a very strong knit community. But I don't feel like that by the time I came along, in the 70s, I was born in 72. So I was 5 and 7 years younger than them. They helped pave the way for me,
Yeah.
but I was also the big sister, I mean, the little sister, yet the big sister, who you better not mess with my sisters.
See,
So,
I can kind of see that. I
and you
told
can
Kimberly
see
before.
that.
I can kind of see that. But I want to stay with you a little bit, Kelly, because in my hearing, I'm thinking that when they say choose which side you on, this is me thinking as a hearer, as a reader, as a, just viewing on. I'm thinking that depend on, you can pass, girl, whoever you with,
Hmm.
since you can pass, choose that size that you can
Yeah,
pass on, because you're going to be getting a tougher time over here saying you Black and you
yeah,
look more white. So
yeah,
you choose that line that you want to walk,
yeah,
because you can pass,
yeah.
girl.
And
That's
that might have been what they were. But you know what? It wasn't something that I wanted to,
hmm hmm
And when I look back at, when you look at how I've had people ask me, how did you get this complexion, especially when they saw a mother. And I'm like, well, let's go back to Civil War. It's not a rocket. It's not rocket science to figure out that, what happened. But I look at what my ancestors may have had to go through
hmm
in order for me, and I'm not going to say that's a privilege, but for me to be the complexion that we all are, that didn't come lightly. Somebody was hurt.
hmm
Somebody was abused. Somebody went through a lot of pain you know, for that to happen. And not just me, all of us,
Yeah.
you know, all of us. They went through some
Mhm.
pain. And when you look at the community that we come from and what that war did and what it meant,
Mhm.
it was painful.
Mhm.
And so I feel like it's my responsibility to hold my head up as a Black woman, or any woman, a woman, period,
Mhm.
just to carry on what they had to endure.
Mhm. Caitlin, you, and I hope I'm saying your name right. Caitlin?
Kathleen.
Kathleen. I
Kathleen.
know, I was like, this doesn't sound right to me. So Kathleen. So Kathleen, with you being the eldest, I want to ask you, and I had to make sure that I not hold it to memory. I wrote these things down. Okay. So this question is going to go to the three of you guys, but I'm going to reset first. And those that are here resetting, we have, like I said, these beautiful women here, um, and telling their story. I always wanted to know about this story. And if you guys want to ask questions, I see Stacey, you wrote some, but it's going to disappear. I have an iPhone, so there's a camera, there's people person with a plus, and then there's a circle with a question mark. Hit that circle, write your question in there so I can hold it to memory there. But I want to ask this, the questions that I'm asking you guys, some of them will be curtailed to either of you, but this one here is, and this goes to all of you guys. Do you ever feel pressured to identify with a single race group?
No, I don't. I identify with who I am and what I am. Like I said, I'm Black on my birth certificate. I was raised Black and African American. That's what I am, and that's what I'm gonna die with.
Hmm. And that's for the two of you guys as well.
Mhm.
Uh, Kelly.
Now, and don't get me. I identify as a black woman. I embrace Black culture. I love our history, but I also recognize the multiplicity
Yes.
uh,
Absolutely,
of
absolutely.
our lineage, and it's beautiful. And just like Kim depicted in her book, those pieces of the ancestors that came together to create uniquely me. There's no
Hmm.
one else on this earth like me,
Hmm.
and I'm proud of that. um, I think the part just growing up and experiencing different things throughout different parts of my life, um, made me at times not like the way I came out,
Hmm.
but I don't have any control of that. And that was only because of the way people treated me, or what folks said, or, other girls were jealous, or, whatever it was. Um, those hurtful moments kind of threw a shadow. Um, but, I'm, of course, now as a grown woman, in a very solid place of proud of who I am, what I've been able to accomplish, based on what, our ancestors did. We are very fortunate and proud. All four were our parents, our mom's parents, as well as our dad's parents, were all college educated. Um,
Hmm.
and to me, getting my education and being educated, especially knowing the struggles that many of them endured, and what my grandfather fought for, civil rights for Black people. Um, that was my way to give back and to pay homage to them, was to, work as hard as I could to get my education, because that was a way for me, the only way I could honor them, because they're not here anymore, but they paved the way for that.
Hmm.
And a big part of who you are is knowing your identity. Excuse me. And I know a part of me for writing this book was that, I didn't know all my history as far as where I came from, as far as my complexion. So I think that it's important for people to know who you are, and like Catherine said, embracing all of you and the multitude of who you are. We are all made of different, if you do a DNA test right now, you'll find that you're a multitude of everything. And so knowing that and embracing that, yes, I'm African American, but I'm others too. You look at my skin,
Mhm.
so knowing that and embracing that and knowing who you are makes you who you are, and loving that. I think it's important to identify with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So true. Kelly, I'm gonna let you be next, but like you said, if we would all go and do an ancestry or DNA thing, that's when I found out. For me, my dad used to say growing up, "You guys got a little Filipino and Asian," and I'm like, "No, we're just black." And then when I pull it up, some whaling and Ivory Coast, and sure enough, a little bit of Filipino. But
Hmm.
here's the thing: even though we all siblings, we show up different things in that
Yes.
within
Yes.
that. And some of us may have more or alike. So with you, Kelly, um, if you don't remember the question, I can ask you again. But it was about being pressured to choose a single race.
No, I was never pressured to choose a certain race because of my parents, again, teaching me what I was, and what my national, and even if as I got older, yes, you've heard stories of people passing. That was never anything that crossed my mind or anything that I had the desire to do at all. I love my race. I love all races, but also to piggyback off of what Kathleen and Kim said, that's one reason my complexion and me wanting to dig deeper into family history. I started, my side hobby is genealogy. That's what I wanted to go, into. And in some of the families that I work with, one question I ask them is because I learned researching myself. You have to be willing to find the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't know, oh yeah, I want to find anything. No, you got to be willing to
Hmm.
find the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because there's a lot of good, happy stories there, but there's some things out there that you might not be ready to find out that's part of your family.
Hmm.
But that's a makeup of who
Who
you
you
are
are.
today. You know. But no, to answer your question, no, I had no there was no confusion on me deciding who I was.
Mm. And then we go back to Caitlin because, like what she said, being the eldest, she got a chance to have all the blows, the systemic blows and everything. And I can see what she said. I can only relate, but I can't relate. But this is how I'm going to relate with it. And I think I told you, Kimberly, and you, Caitlin, about how this guy he's Mexican, but if you look at the application, he would have to say white. You know what I'm saying? And so we were just in eighth grade or something like that. And he liked me and he was supposed to be my boyfriend. But then I looked at it and I lied and said that I had a boyfriend. And this is how I can relate, but not really. This is the most close I think I could come to. I was not willing, nor did I have enough love to endure systemic racism. I was not about to. I'm deuces. I'd rather be black with my black man and have my black struggles. I did not want to have those struggles, and so that's why I say I can kind of bit. You neither of you three asked for this to happen
Yes.
when you come, and then I'm thinking to myself as a black woman, is why does it have to be so painful? Why being black has to be something bad? I mean, you can have a black car that's cool. You can have a tux that's cool. Anything in black is cool, but when it comes to skin, it's bad. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I look at all those things. I'm like, we were meant to be inferior, but I can be black and you can leave me alone. But why am I so important? To me, if something stands out and you're so worried about my blackness to it transcend to socially, to a job, to where I live, to all these things, it's just trying to stop me. You know what I'm saying? And we still see that today. And I just say we must be some powerful people for
Yes.
folks to hate us and keep us in their mind. It's like, don't worry about them. They're not even thinking about you next day. We're just trying to live. And with that being said, I'm going to reset one more time. Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to reset to read some of these things here, what they're saying here. And then we're going to go back to those other questions. And let's see what they're saying here. Stacy, she said, Black people should let's see, I can't see that. You guys might can see it too. Black people should last. I'm not sure what that is, but people to treat back. I think she's saying Black people should be the last to treat people bad based on their skin color. And hello, beautiful women. Have you ever been? Here's a question from Stacey. Have you ever been in a position that they passed as all white? Either of you been?
No.
Never.
That's okay.
No.
I've been in positions where folks assumed I was,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and said things or inappropriate, where I was quickly to correct them that you need to watch what you say because you don't know what company you're in.
Mm. Now, Kelly, you look more
quite a bit.
Kelly, you probably could sit at the water cooler and get in the house and sit next to him. What about that?
Yeah, I've had and I'm a hairstylist as well, like Kim, and being in the city versus in the rural area where we were from, I did get the opportunity to work on clients that would speak, and yeah, I mean, you would hear some things because they would not know. But all I kept hearing, would be my mother, just be professional, hold your head up high, and everything doesn't need a comment or a response. So for me, that was hard to hush. Trust me, that was hard.
So you had all mixed race, always Black customers, white customers, or
but yes. But this, yes, absolutely.
Have you had where like you do a Black customer hair, they say, "Can you do Black people hair?"
Oh yeah,
not knowing that you're Black.
Absolutely. And guess what? I shut them down real quick when I finished. Absolutely.
See, that's the rebel. That's the rebel lip. Right?
Yeah.
That's the rebel. So that is something that. So being that your father and your mother's Black, and Kelly told me, and she showed me a picture of Dad. Dad looked lily white to me, and so for him to be lily white to me, and forgive me if that's not right to say.
That's fine.
And to put Black on his birth certificate, I'm trying to wonder how was that for him to be in the social streets, workplaces, and you look up, you got to show your birth certificates, certain things. What was that like for him?
Ooh,
I think Dad got mistaken for being more Puerto Rican or Hispanic more. They knew he wasn't all, wasn't white, but they didn't know what he was, so, but he was much, he was darker than us. And plus, he was a farmer, he was in the sun. So he had a nice, golden tan. But again, I think it went back to, how he was raised. And I mean, Kappa and Kim, they might be able to speak a little bit more on that. I think y'all can step in.
What do you, for you two, being that, Kathleen, you the eldest, and then you have Kimberly, I mean, being the youngest when I'm the rebel. But
I don't ever recall Dad saying anything about being disappointed in who he was, because Daddy went to HBCU for college. Yeah. And he served on committees and boards as, probably, I know in Arkansas, the first Black for the ASCS office, which at the time was the Agricultural Stabilization and Conservation Service. And so he did a lot of first as an African American or a Black man, and his birth certificate said Negro. Mine says Negro.
Says Negro too. What about you two? Y'all says Negro?
Mine says
Mine says black.
mine says black too.
Yeah.
See, I'm up there with you. I'm in my 60s, so we're probably that crew.
Uh-huh.
It said
Right, right,
Negro and father
Yes.
sharecropper. Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Daddy was proud of his lineage, but I can see where it probably just was confusing, like, like we've experienced to others. But he was proud of what he was able to do and accomplished, and carried himself as a black man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too that Daddy also with the kind of work he did, he paved the way for other young black men. But I'm pretty sure there were times that he was reminded,
Oh,
who he was,
yeah.
and you're still a black man, and I'm pretty sure he got a lot of knockdowns and disappointments with that, So but he, but all in all, he did pave the way for other black men and young men, to be
And
successful as
women.
well. And women, yes,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad knew how to extend his hand and bring the next person up.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's
You know,
beautiful.
he
That's
really knew how
beautiful.
to do that. He wanted to see young people, all people, pursue their dreams and be educated if that's what
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to pursue. But I have a very dear friend, a classmate that he was struggling, in at a school trying to get ahead. And and dad extended his hand and really helped pave some open some doors
Yes,
for
he did.
him,
Mm.
Yeah.
um, to
I
help
think
him.
our dad passed this past April, and I think one thing that gave my sisters and I comfort and made us feel proud were the many people that reached out to us who told them how our daddy helped them get this job, or was a reference for me for this, or he helped just help them in some way elevate themselves up. And that's something daddy he wasn't one to brag about, I did this or I
Mm.
did that. A lot of this stuff we never knew he did until people came up and told us that, what he did. And so that made us, I think, even prouder of who he was as a man.
Yes.
Mm. A father and a good
Right.
community man as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
Wow. And then being back there, what, the 50s, 40s, 50s, back in that time, your parents.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To what extent do you, all of you, do you, um, family dynamics as it brought together? And you go into your parents' house, you go into your father's house, your mother's house. What was that like as a personal sense of identity when you went to mom's side of the family, when you went to dad's side of the family? What was that like as a sense of personal identity from both sides, either your mom's house or your dad's house, parents?
Who wants to answer that?
Um,
Oh
Kelly,
my!
go
Did,
ahead, Kelly.
did I
I'm,
dig into something? Did I
I'm,
dig?
I'm trying to make sure I'm hearing how the question. Say that again.
Okay,
Like
so
how are we treated? How
when
are
you
we
go,
treated
yeah,
on
how
both
are you
sides?
treated? Your personal identity, like when you go to your father's house
Yeah.
and his family lineage, and when you go to your mom's house, I guess I'm assuming that's like the more of the black side, more of the, like that. How
I
was it?
mean, it just really depends because on both sides, you've heard the saying that we've got everything in our family from plum white to blue black. We had that.
It was that on
So
both
it was
ends.
on both sides,
That's
but we
good.
come from a very loving family on both sides, very supportive. So we didn't see a difference. I mean, I'm being honest with you. I didn't see a difference. I went to my grandmother's house and she walked down to the corner and met me as I walked out to school every day and I spent time with her and then I would go and spend time with my mother's parents during the summer and I didn't see I saw love. Let me just say
That's
that.
good.
I saw
That's good.
love from both sides of the family. Was not treated any differently, but I just saw love. We I got my tail whipped over here. I got my tail whipped over there.
I
Oh,
know.
That's
absolutely.
just, yeah, that's just the truth. And I got my
Love
fair
it.
share, let me tell you.
Born in the
Kelly
70s,
does
of
this
course,
all the
of
time.
love.
And the village. You know, you go to your friend's house. It was the village. If you got in
Come
trouble
on.
at your friend's house,
Got a bookie
that's the
too.
truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
went through town. Yes, yes, they did.
Yes, that is good because some people, they do get treated differently when they go to either side of the
Yeah.
family. It's not the same. They don't even know how to handle it, some of them. But I remember when we talked, Caitlin talked about how knowing more of you guys mixed lineage was mostly at the dinner table. What was that like for you, um, Kathleen? And then also, I really got to get, since she's born in the 70s, things kind of changed. So what was that like for you, Caitlin, and
I
then
was
you?
I was just fascinated, by the storytelling.
Mhm.
And one story, I mean, I recall um, my grandfather retelling. He represented some of the tenant farmers that I don't know if you've heard of Tent City in Fayette County, Tennessee, where sharecroppers were put off the farm because they were trying to register to
Mm.
vote that time. And so my grandfather was one of the attorneys that helped represent those people. And I remember my mom accompanied him from Nashville down to that area for a meeting, and I remember my grandfather recalling as well, they literally were run out of town by the Ku Klux Klan, and just how frightening that was for them. So, they experienced some rough times. And Kelly mentioned, my grandfather going to the University of Tennessee, and we found letters later after he passed that were shared by my aunts, and hearing stories too of where they did he wasn't, number one, allowed to stay on campus,
Mhm.
use the library, and
Mm.
other students had to help him. That's the only way he made it through the college, because other students would check out the books that he needed, um, because they didn't want him to succeed.
Wow.
And so hearing those stories of struggle and perseverance and overcoming, you know, how could I not, do everything I could to be successful, and just set a good example for um, what they poured into us,
Yeah.
what, the road that they paved for us. And so it was just, I was just always enthralled by just what, and fascinated by their stories, but at the same time recognizing the tremendous sacrifices not only him but others made to get where they are and to get what they did. And it just gave me a huge sense of pride,
Wow.
That's
a
right.
Kimberly.
huge sense of pride.
Mm.
Yes, that's
Kimberly.
right. Ancestors is so important. That's what
Uh-oh, Kimberly, is
ancestors are
that her?
so
Kimberly
important.
breaking up?
Is
Kimberly?
that me? Hello, hello. Can you
Okay,
hear
go
me?
ahead.
I
I can
said
hear you.
ancestors are so important. They paved the way for us, and like Kaplan said, you know, by what they have gone through, we have to we have to pay it back to them. That's why in my book, the ancestors were so important. The to to reach out to them, and they pour into us. So I think ancestors are so important.
Mm. Show your book, Kelly, and then I like how you said what you just said and how you show in your book. And we talked, you and I talked. Hopefully you guys can see that. You and I talked about how, like Tiger Woods, someone we know of today,
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
he wanted to embrace all of his heritage.
Yes.
Because we, as people of color, we got upset. You're just black. You don't need to
Yes.
say I'm black, this and this
Right.
and that.
Right.
And so saying those things, and when you talk about it, and you show in your book how just searching for you, and you went to each of your, some people might say Buella, but each of your grandparents' house and stuff like that, and you got where you don't have to discard that you was this ethnic background. You can put it all together. For you, Kelly, being born in the 70s, what was that like for you? Now I know I'm born in the 60s, and for me as a person of color, it was if you black, you stay back. If you white, you're right. And also, I told either both of your sisters that I had a neighbor that it was a little girl and she was white, and she came out. We were playing. They were there, short lived, and so she came running outside, gave me a dear love, a hug for dear life, and she said she could not play with me anymore because black people are dirty. That's what she was told. And so, what about you? And then I'm going to ask you also some questions like, did people, so try to remember that. So, I'm at the age group, so I want to make sure I get this out. So, people even go as far as wanting to touch the hair, wanting to know if black people have a tail. So, was any of those myths for you guys? And then go ahead with the way you were treated then in the 70s.
For me, in the 70s, no. I can't say, as far as like, I don't know, it was just really different by the time my friends came, me and my friends, we had, our parents were all friends in the community. And it's maybe it would have been different had we been raised somewhere else, but the community that we were raised in was so tight knit. I personally don't think I dealt with that. And then, yes, you might look at my hair now and see it straight. This is a silk press. I use a flat iron, but if you put water on it, I have a fro, and I've had relaxers. I did relaxers for years, but my hair is can be really tightly coiled. I mean, but I had friends that would want to play in my hair and things like that. But my hair was, we could wear the same styles. If I pulled out senior pictures, I had the stacks, I had the finger waves, I had all of that. But I just didn't. It was different for me by the time I came along, and you see, I'm a different breed.
I see. Just bring us, and we're almost at the end of our conversation, and I'm going to reset. And for those of you guys that coming in, we're talking about Kimberly. Hold your book up. Kimberly's book. It is a children's book. You go like, hey, Ellen, how'd you pull this out of there? There's so much of this in there and so much more. The first time we talked about what was it like for Caitlin and Kimberly as a child. So we talked about being as a child. What was it like? And now we're talking about the family. And so on the 7th of February, we're going to talk about the community. We're going to dig into that community. And so I got all of this out there because I know there was so much more of those components that you guys had to deal with. The family, also, being a child, and then the community is so much bigger. It's so much that we might need 10 hours. But anyway, so even talking about that, this is a question to both Caitlin and Kimberly, because this is around that time. I see like you're buffering, but are you still there? Just tell me hello. I see
Yes.
you're
Yes.
buffering. So with Kimberly and also, and oh, wait a minute. She said, somebody said you're about to make them cry. Let me see. What did she say? I'm sorry, guys. This is our reset moment. This was Stacy's. Let's see what she said. She said something about you guys making her cry. Oh, y'all got me on an emotional roller coaster. Sad at the way folks act in laughing at hearing the funny statements. So she crying and laughing at the same time. So y'all got Stacy crying and laughing. So this is
Sorry, Stacy. We love you.
I'd imagine some of that laughter helped y'all through the pain of society just because you're Black. Anyway, this is to you two, the two, Caitlin and Kimberly. Did you both of you guys experience, especially Caitlin being the oldest, do you think your experience helped you and moving along or shielding like your other two sisters? Because you took a lot of stuff. And also, I remember when I talked to Kimberly and you, Caitlin, when you were saying that when you guys were going to school, there was a boycott.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think, first with you, Caitlin, some of the stuff you endured, the experience and different things, did it help you to shield your siblings so they wouldn't have to go through that racism or they wouldn't have to go through those things that you had endured, and now you have your child number 2 and child number 3?
I think it certainly made me more protective of them. I was the big sister, and being the big sister, you're automatically told you're responsible, for your younger sisters, and so I always felt that task of looking out for them. And now I could beat them up, but I'd be dogging somebody else was gonna mess up my sisters.
Kelly ready to fight. Where your Vaseline at, Kelly?
I didn't fight Kelly though, because Kelly hit hard.
I see that.
But I think it certainly made me resilient, and I think even now that fortitude, that resiliency is something that has helped me throughout many instances in life of difficult and trying times. And I think had it not been for those foundational moments, because I can remember Mama saying, you got to be strong, you got to be strong, you got to hold your head high. You don't have anything to be ashamed about. You haven't done anything wrong. And that's a heavy load for a child to have scary at times. But yeah, I think I was very protective of my sisters. Still am. I would drive to heaven and earth, for them. They are my first friends, and the ones that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I can count on. And now with both our parents gone, we have to be what we need to be for each other.
That's so true. Kimberly, what about you?
Well, Kathleen, she's true because Kathleen paved the way for me, and she was, we're only 2 years apart, so she was always at school with me, and like she said, she was always my protector. So if I had any problems, she was the first person I went to, and she always had her fist balled up, and she was ready to take care of it, So, and Kelly, Kelly's 5 years under me. And when she came along, she was like, her friends, she was like, it was a whole different era. You see how she is. Y'all already see how
she's
she
ready.
is. So, I mean, she came up and everything was kind of like everything was kind of diversified. And she had like her friends were just, all a mix of friends. And she came in the era where they didn't really care, So, so she didn't have to go through the things that Catherine and I went through. So, Catherine and I, we said we came through the era where, we just came out the boycott and things were still kind of tense. Like I said, she was my protector, and I think both of us paved the way for her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and so this lines right up with you, Kelly, as I thought about this. So Kelly, as the younger sister, was racism more or less tolerant, or did you have any issues as it came to racism?
Not that I knew of. And I will say that I don't know if that was just, again, because of how what my parents instilled in me, what my church instilled in me, what my community instilled in us, and the organizations, that we were involved in. I was part of that group where, they wanted us to, hold our head up high and be proud, and I felt like, reaching back from my ancestors, and you look at our DNA, that was in me. That was my blood. That's all I needed to do, And I think that's what's made me strong. Have I ever dealt with racism? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it's how we react to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you might be looking for a reaction, but you're not gonna get it. And I think that's what we have to, again, when I say I know who I am and I know whose I am,
Yes.
you don't have to get that reaction from
You know,
me.
Kelly, you know what you remind me of? Something I seen on, I want to say it was Jamie Foxx or something on TV where, where the black person, I knew it was a male. It was something on TV. And he always tell his mom always told him, you know, you can't be fussing in front of white folks. That's what I thought about you.
Well, you know,
You
my mother was the type that where you showed out is where she took you out. And I mean that. You know, she was
I got my last
she
whipping at
Yes.
16.
yeah, she was very disciplined. She did not play. And I had a fear of her respectfully, you know,
know?
because it was, and I still carry that, you know, even as an adult, you know, my parents were still alive. Yes,
Yes.
I'm grown, I'm married, I have children, but I still respected my dad and would say, hey, Dad, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going on to work. I didn't have to call my daddy and tell him where I was or my mother, but that's just the respect
Yes.
that of how they raised us,
Mm,
you know.
I love it.
And I appreciate that. I thought it was the worst thing, you know, growing up, but I see that that's what made me who I am, and
Mm,
I get to extend that to my
Yes.
children, so they will know how to behave and how to act, you know, because how you behave in the streets, it starts at home.
that's so true. You know, we're going to bring that up with our part 3 on this. We're going to talk about the community and the family. But I wanted to, especially Caitlin and Kimberly, they may remember. I remember when my dad is from, well, I found out Florence, Mississippi, and migrated to Jackson, Mississippi. My mom's Liberty, Mississippi, but I never been to my mom's hometown. But I used to wonder when Dad was in the car, he would take so long to get where we're going. But then I remember a green book that he had in his hand. And now I don't know if Ro is still there, but now she helped me understand what that book was.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would see my dad reading this green book
Mm-hmm.
while he's going. I'm like, why don't you just go down there? He never told us why he did that. And I
Mm-hmm.
know my other siblings, but I know they sure enough remember it took us a long time to get to Mississippi.
I
And
can
then
Yep.
he
never
tried to make sure
understand.
that it wasn't dark when he got down there.
Absolutely. I never could understand as a kid why it would take us 8, 10 hours to get from Arkansas to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can get there in 3 or 4 hours. But I didn't realize that we could only stop at certain gas
Mm-hmm.
stations. Or my mother had a bag that she packed for lunch, and I still passed the rest stops that we would stop and eat, where she, you know, would pack a lunch for us, you
Yes.
know,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and how we, you know, she would pull over to the side of the road just for us to use the restroom.
Yeah,
And then
Right.
when she was able to get a porta potty, we had one, you know, that she could
in a van.
use, you know. But it was now I understand
Mm-hmm.
that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Wow, we're not too far from that, and then now we're going. You know, things that happened in the pandemic
Yeah.
will help
Yeah.
us to see this. You know, it brought its ugly head up where we can finally now talk about racism. Because when you talk about racism, it goes to another way. It start
Mm-hmm.
being something else. Nobody ever wanted to talk about it. You know, it was one lady. I don't know her personally, but Stacy was telling me. I am Stacy was telling me about one lady that she asked her mother was she black, and she slapped her.
Oh.
You know, that was the reaction from that. And so it's a lot of things. I don't know, you know, like I said with Kelly and Caitlin, I'm not going to go around feeling bad because I'm black. Neither am I going to apologize for being black. And I don't think I should have to.
Right.
And so with that being said, our time is up. And that is my last question to you guys. And hopefully you can come back on the part 3 when we talk about community. So we're going to start with the rebel, Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly, I asked your sisters this before. You said you're married. You mentioned it. And so we laughed about this. So Caitlin and Kimberly, we laughed about this. And my question was, and now since you online, when you got married, did you want your husband to be as black as he could be?
I did. I wanted him chocolate. And
And why? And why? Why did you want him to be as black as he could
honestly,
be?
and I guess this, you know, I guess I from what I saw from what I did go through, I didn't want my children to go through that. But if you were to see my boys now, I have a two beautiful black young men, and they're of different complexions. I have one that is more darker complexion, and the other one is a little lighter, and it hurt as a mother and a parent noticing that one might be treated differently than the other, and that hurt, knowing that one could possibly, be treated differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the hair texture, did they have the curly hair? Or they had the
Mm-mm.
they got our hair. They got our hair.
No.
So ain't no secret. They black.
No, they know they black. Yeah, they black. And my older son, he has beautiful locks. He has long, beautiful locks, and and my youngest son has a tapered fade, and but they look differently. But regardless of the shades of their skin, they can be treated differently because of the shade of their skin.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
So with Caitlin, you have a son, or you don't have a son? You have daughters?
I have a daughter. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I have 3 stepchildren.
And so
Mm-hmm.
with Kimberly and Kelly, did you ever feel like all of the black women across the world, when your son go outside, that you wonder when he's coming back or if he's going to be pulled over? Did you guys worry about those things?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You do worry about that, but I've taught him, he knows what to do. He knows what to do in those, and you pray over your kids every day and ask for that covering, but they know what to do. Has he been pulled over? Absolutely. And he's done what he's been taught to do, again, that's sad that you have to teach your kids that.
I hate that we have to have that talk. I mean, you really have to have that.
You do. Yeah.
So I'm going to get a little bit of noise. Hold on. I'm going to blink it out now, and we're going to close it. Thank you both for being here, the 3 of you guys. I hope that you guys, like I said, can come back for the part 3. We're going to dig in that community. We're going to dig into the family as you move about in the community. Thank you guys for being here. You women are amazing. It has been so
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Doc. I see you guys in here. We're going to have a part 3, and that's when we're going to talk about community. The first time we talked about what was it like for them to be children growing up. Her book is Searching for Me, and that's Kelly's book. She showed the book, and I guess I can show it here just to end our show with showing their book. And this time we talked about family. What was it like being in a family, moving about through the family? So our next talk, we're definitely going to talk about what is it like the community. The community is a vast different of things that's going on, and I'll have it up next time. I'm not going to hold you guys too much, but stay tuned too. We do have another show on the 30th. It will be with Jacqueline Mitchard. She's a New York Times best-selling author. And stay tuned for her book. I'm going to put her book up. And that is Jacqueline Mitchard's book, New York Times bestseller. This book was one of Oprah's pick. And we're going to talk to her live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 3rd. If you guys stay tuned, deep end of the ocean. And she'll be coming by to talk with us live here. If you guys would like to be on our show, do email me at mrssuds@yahoo.com. And we thank you guys for being here. It has really been amazing. And you guys have an amazing night.